and welcome to another episode of Africa Talks. And today we'll be in conversation with the team of Kaala, and we're talking about the short film and the larger issue of racism that the film has tried to focus upon. And today I have the team of Kaala with me, and I would like to welcome Mr. Tarun Jain, the director of the film. Tarun, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We have with us Jude Bowman Tony, who played the lead character in the show. Jude, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Our third panelist today is Miss Katyayani Pandey, who is an actor and had played an important role in the film. Katyayani, welcome to the show and today's discussion.
Thank you.
And our fourth panelist today is Mr. Izio Namdi from Exilient Education. Mr. Namdi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Friends, today we are talking about the issue of racism, and especially when it comes to treating Africans in India. And Tarun and his team has made a short film on that, titled as Kaala. Now, Tarun, Kaala is something which, India is a very diverse and complex country.
Yeah.
Despite the linguistic, cultural, and religious diversity, we all understand Kaala. Kaala is omnipresent, irrespective of languages. Such is the deep, the Kaala is so much prevalent in our society that everybody knows that it's a derogatory term, but still everybody is using it in their daily lives.
Yeah.
And it has been happening for generations, We still talk about, the divide between Aryans and Dravidians. We still talk about North Indians and South Indians. For a lot of people, all South Indians are Kaala. They are black. They don't know whether, like North Indian, there's a huge diversity of people in South India also. Interestingly, right. in our mythology, you must have seen all our Rakshasas are Kaala, and all our Devas are Gora.
Yeah.
So from mythology to real life to current to our contemporary period, we see this Kaala every day on our TV shows. We see this Kaala every day in around our families, around our friend circles. We are part of this conversation around Kaala, in fact, every day, informally, formally, whether we want it, whether we don't want it. But that Kaala is there everywhere.
Right.
So why you decided to bring that Kaala in the forefront in the form of a short film?
So my voice is echoing, I think.
Yes, your voice is echoing.
Oh.
I think you are live on two platforms, so I'll just mute you on one. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Right. Can you see me?
No, we can't see you. We can hear you.
Okay, just a second. Sorry. Wait a second.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So, so I think growing up also, I think I was kind of part of this, this thing that, looking down at people and, differentiating between, the color, skin color, and judging people by that. But over the years, when we grew, when we, started working, when we started going out, and when we started making, getting into more, meeting more people from different cities, different countries, starting working with them, I got to know the culture more, and realized like I connected with them more on the human level rather than somebody's from France or somebody's from Canada or somebody's from other cities of Delhi. There were like many similarities, even though we were from different places, and then that barrier or the gap there was earlier. I kind of filled it, and then kind of was able to see the whole situation from the other side. Like 5 years in my life before, and then 5 years after, let's say, after having worked on different projects. So I think in our society, it's you know, lot of the things which were there, for example, which I can say, for example, I'm a 90s kid, and then you know, in 90s we used to see a lot of things, and we used to also be taught about, you know, things, you know, how to behave, like these things are neutral and not to overreact it. For example, you know, in terms of religion, my father you know, had friends from all the religion, and then for us, like, everybody's was chacha or tau or uncle or auntie, and then, you know, and then probably after 90s we started looking at them as, okay, you know, they are from this religion, they are from that religion, not as us basically. But then the whole situation changed, and probably the population who grew up in 90s, like, or who were born in 90s, that was the new thing for them, like that was the new learning for them, for like, kind of that you have to know this categorically. And then all the other politics or the other you know, things played into place in this factor where you know, people started segregating, categorizing things like, okay, religion, race, caste, color, place, you know, economical background, everything was more sort of, you know, they were like boxes you would start putting people in, you know, even though you've known them from very long. So I still like to believe that our society has like a lot of potential in terms of recognizing you know, people from other places. For example, in case of Tibet, you know, which happened in the 50s, and then, you know, we welcomed you know, the people who wanted to live here, and are still there. Like, for example, when you go to Dharamshala, you see the very big influence of Tibetan Buddhist culture, and a lot of other places like Bodh Gaya and all of that. We appreciate that, we have accepted it. So there is nothing like, now, you know, we are talking about you know, as if it's a new thing. It's something we have to be aware of in a way. It's like, okay, it's there, it exists. So I think in terms of uh, especially, so basically I mean, how I've understood it, growing up in North India, my family is from UP, Meerut and Bulandshahr and all of that. So I have you know, over the years, working on projects set in these areas in Haryana and UP mostly, kind of understood that things are kind of little different for North India. You know, there is, like, for example, I've always put it into the category of North India mindset, because it's highly politically driven also. You know, people are
Yes.
like, the whole focus, like most of the focus all over India is on mostly Delhi and UP, and then Haryana after that, and then Punjab, and then, like, it used to be Kashmir in 90s, you know, mostly.
True.
so
True.
so,
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, Tarun. We'll come back to that point again.
yeah,
You know, Tarun talked about the North Indian mindset.
yeah,
And I think color, especially the dark color, black color, has always played a very dominant role in imposing a certain identity on people, in categorizing them in certain ways. So that's a mindset we are talking about in India towards Africans. Iziogu and Jude, coming to you, you know, you both are in India. You have been there in India for, you know, a couple of years studying here. You know, how difficult for you it has been to pursue your higher studies in India and tackling on a daily basis this so-called Indian mindset based on the color of your skin, which Tarun was pointing out. Iziogu, you share your views first. Yeah.
All right. I was thinking Jude was more in a good position as the.
We'll come to Jude after you.
Yeah, great, great. Well, basically, I think skin color has been an issue, and I don't like to see Africans or Black people as victims of this. I just see it as something that they cannot escape from because it's deep rooted in the Indian system. It's not per se that we were targeted because of our history or some other reasons, but I think when something is in the subconscious of individuals, they do not know when they transfer the same to others. So it's like it's there in the homes, it's there in the schools, it's there in almost all the establishments. And by virtue of fact that we find ourselves in India, we end up becoming people who also experience this, probably because of ignorance, because most of the people who pass these laws, like see someone and say you are hey Kalu, hey Apshi, and all those kind of other funny derogatory comments, do this out of ignorance, do this because of what they have already seen that the media portray this particular people as. So I think Tarun coming up with this idea, actually we've been together on this project also, even if not fully committed like he is. I think it's a wonderful initiative that could also pass a message to the people, make them use this very less in terms of how they address people. I give you an instance. I have a friend who is here with me, actually close by in Delhi, and he's dark in complexion. He's Indian, originally Indian, and all the time he's also been addressed as Kalu, you know. So I think to him, it's not going to be something more that would be looked at from a racial angle. But when it's extended to people from Africa, people who are by race Black, then we find that very insultive. And one thing which we're hoping that the Indian government would do is to enact laws, because there are bills up till now, there are still bills. We want this to become laws. When they become laws, I think it will further enhance the social security and identity of people from Africa in particular.
Yeah.
So there is a need of specific laws to prohibit this discrimination based on color towards African. That's what Izzy was saying. Coming to you, Jude. Jude, can you hear us? I think Jude, yeah. Jude, kindly unmute yourself. Yeah. Jude, we would
Yes,
like to know more about you. We would like to know what you are doing in India currently and how you got associated with this assignment, with this short film.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, so I am from Nigeria. I'm from Kaduna State. That's the northern part of Nigeria, and I guess I'm in the month of July, and this should be like 4 years for me, like marking 4 years being in India. And it's been a journey. It's been an experience, you know, a journey of learning and growing. You know, meeting really fantastic people, you know, who have also made life here, you know, like quite a journey for me. And right now, I have completed my bachelor's degree, and right now I'm just currently pursuing a short program, professional program in baking and pastry, which is something I you know really love to do. And coming to you know being a part of this project Kaala, it's I would say I came from a perspective of, you know, not being able to handle it. That's the perspective I came with, because you know, this Taron just reached out to a friend of mine and, you know, asked about someone who could take up the role, you know. And you know, I didn't really have much knowledge. I don't have, I would say, much knowledge of acting. But then, you know, it was series of coaching, series of, you know, training, and through so many resourceful people, you know, who really helped me along this journey. And you know, coming on board also on the project, you know, I met with also, you know, other great actors, and Katiani, she's one of them. That's just a few among those, the other ones also who are also part of this project. But then, you know, being able to connect, you know, with the character also was, it was also, you know, it took some time also for me to do that also. But then, with the help of, you know, people around and, you know, talking and all of that, I was able to, you know, catch up with this.
Okay. So Jude, how has been your personal experience of staying in India for 4 years? What kind of behavior you have seen in India towards Africans?
Well, my own personal experience. So there are cases, actually. There are cases of students being being attacked. Most especially in North India. But then I have not personally been a victim of that. But otherwise, like just like Ezogo spoke, he spoke about these derogatory terms. When you just walking out there and you just hear people say things like that, Kaala, and but then, we just had to develop this tough skin, to be able to ignore that and look away, from that. So that has been something that has been able to, help us to, uh, maximize our experience here. It has helped us also, not focusing, on the negative side, not focusing on playing, like this is how the society is. So I choose to, like, play back. First coming to India as a student, or not even like generally as a foreigner, I would say, you experience that cultural shock, and I don't understand your culture, you don't understand my culture. So, like there's a lot of difficulties, and these are some of the few things that, leads to people being attacked. So, but then my own experience, I have had the privilege to travel like across different states of India, from the north, south, east, and west, and should I say it's sad that, this is the year when I'm going to be leaving India, because I've really had a wonderful experience. That's what I would say.
Great. So, no, I fully agree with you. The kind of cultural shock a lot of African youngsters get when they come to India, and the kind of treatment they get on a daily basis, which has no rationale, which needs to be completely, removed. Coming to you, Katyayani, tell us something about yourself. What are you doing currently, and how you, came and became part of this particular assignment?
So I actually finished my bachelor's degree in December of 2017 from the US. And I had actually just moved back to India. And a friend of mine who's also in the film, he gave me a call, and he said that, I for this film, so do you think you could send an audition? I think I had been back in the country about a week, not more than that. And I sent this thing, and I had no idea what the film was about at that time. I just got a little one slip of paper on my phone, little PDF saying it, like just act this much out, record a video and send it. And I ended up doing that, and one thing led to another, and suddenly I'm in rehearsal with this, we've got this makeshift car with all of us sitting together, and Jude is there, and we all met, and we had 2-3 rehearsals, and that's sort of how I initially got involved in it. I would say Kaala is my first gig as a professional actor, so it is very, very special to me, and I think the issue that it deals with is also very topical, and it's very important to be talking about it right now, especially the times that we are in are tumultuous. Like, things are happening on a daily basis all over the world, and you are getting information on your phone instantly. So I think it also feels like you're doing your part as an actor, an artist, or whatever, to put the word out there and make people aware that what is happening to African people in India is wrong. A lot of people aren't even aware, or if they are aware, they end up sort of brushing it aside by saying, yeah, well, nobody really actually, I mean, it's almost a whole process of dehumanization that began long before any of us were born. And it's coming to a head now, obviously, because globalization has reached a peak. Suddenly so many communities are in touch with each other on every minute. So I think a lot of communities, and you spoke about culture shock, I think that's happening to people all the time on social media. So I think a film like this ends up being very important to sort of put issues in perspective for people who are suddenly coming to terms with all these issues that they didn't have to deal with earlier. So that is sort of how I end up getting involved with this, and it means a lot to me. Other than that, what I'm doing right now, I'm quarantining, and I'm not doing much. I'm waiting, I'm auditioning for other things. I'm essentially an actor, and I'm looking to apply for my master's. So that's what I'm doing.
Great. We look forward to see you in more socially responsible roles in the coming months and years, and maybe in films or in web series or on different platforms. Coming back to your turn, Kateni, you were saying something?
No, I was saying a lot is suddenly being made. So one would like to be involved with, cinema that has a conscience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming to you, Tarun, how have you weaved this story together? Because Africans, especially the youth that is there in India, they are facing a whole lot of issues. So how have you weaved around this story that this kind of story you'll focus upon in the short film? Because there could have been other instances also which could have become part of your film, which are not there. So why these particular incidents you focused upon as part of the script of the film?
So a lot of it is also logistical, like what we could get and what, like according to when we were looking for an actor to play the lead role, to play Bryan, and we were auditioning different people and giving out different scripts to them. So when we locked on Jude, I started, and knowing that he's a non-actor, he needs to train, I started working on the script, or I started changing the script, thinking that how observing Jude, like how Jude will play it out, and then so to make it more more feasible for him, to accommodate him more, and lot of these incidences that has happened in the film are are real incidents which has happened with different people. Like also I had a long meetings with Zugo, and then a lot of other people from different universities, from Noida International, from the African president, the association, Presido, and then a lot of people I met in DU hostel, JNU, and I spoke to people in like all over India, in Jaipur, Somalia, Kenya. I then kind of incorporated all of that to have a reference, and also had discussed them, though these incidents, in length with Jude, so that he feels familiar with it. And so I just a lot of these scenes are there because of that. But this topic mainly, so it's a like a I was working in NDTV, and then I also worked for Quint briefly for a project for about like 6, 7, 8 months. And then during that time, I was hearing all these stories about the attacks and everything that was happening. And uh, I mean, even though those were there all the time, but we overlooked it. But this time, suddenly, this was the story. This was the news which everybody wanted to cover, and then everybody. So I thought that I'll be a part of it. I'll do something. I'll write an article, or I'll work with some other friends or help them do their research and all that. But then slowly, gradually, I started looking at everybody coming up with like a 3 minute or a 4 minute formatted video, some funny, some not. I mean, I like the idea. It's good because people will remember those videos. But then after the session, like session of 2, 3 months, like these videos coming up from different platforms, different channels, when they were over, I realized that people might not remember or realize the gravity of this situation. They might just look at it as a funny video, enjoyable video. They'll remember it. Okay, we saw a video which was anti-racist, but was funny. So I thought that we need to, probably I have to work towards take the visual medium and project a story of an individual. Could be anyone who, like, many people can relate to, and then tell a human story, like, so that the target was like, if we can, like, by the end of the film, bridge that gap and point out that, okay, these are the issues that we are dealing with indirectly, because when you start telling them, it becomes preaching, like people don't want to listen to you that way. But then when they see it, for example, this like, I'll take a reference from the film. There is one sequence where the story turns, and then our character saves the other guy. But we didn't have the time to show and get to the other guy's reaction because he was injured there. But then, if people would question in their self, in themselves, if connecting with that character, that Indian character who was trying to kill him earlier, have they changed? Like, has this character changed, which he had not shown in the film? But I think that's obvious. So if that reaction comes up, I think half of our work will be done, and then the rest of the, like, the end part of the film, like what our character is dealing with after he has chosen not to react in the same manner he was treated with. So that's why I just chose chose to make this kind of story, and I wanted to keep it very simple. Me and the co-writer and the co-producer Nasira, we were very clear that we want to keep it very simple. We want to keep it so that many people can get it and relate with it. So we just picked up the real accounts of these people, real incidents that has happened, real experience that they faced, and then put it into one story for one character, one fictional character. And then luckily we got Jude, which who fitted the role very well, like in terms of he connected very well. And like the casting process was also very like interesting, because Katyani we got, I was, there was this previous film that we made, Amma Meri, and then I was, that there was this character Rashmi, and I wanted to have, Rashmi has eloped in that film, and I wanted to see what Rashmi is doing now. So then I was, trying to get Rashmi back in this film, but she said she doesn't want to do it. So then Katyani, looked perfectly like that, and also was also understood, like the first audition that we saw, she understood the character's dilemma very well, because she's the one who's instigating all this, but is also a victim in the film. So some must have taken like a bad decision few years back, is stuck in it, and again, like North India mindset. So like when you're here, it's very difficult to get out of it. You're stuck there, and you don't know how to get. I mean, it's a whole journey to come out of it, and then look at yourself after a few years, that okay, I was in that situation, but she's in that situation right now, and she can't get out of it. Also, I didn't answer your previous question, like why didn't I think of like a female character for an African lead? So that's a very good thing that I was also, I like, this thing had crossed my mind. Again, I would say it was quite logistical, because I couldn't get access to a lot of females who opened up with me, and I met a lot of them, but they were not ready to face the camera, or not ready to come and tell their story. Um, so I just thought that okay, like my here the target is to tell a human story about an African guy who in the end we should not look at as an African, and look at as a some like a boy from some place, and then now living in India, like many other people. Like I would be, for example, I was in Bombay for some time, I was in Gujarat for some time. So I didn't want to be looked at, okay, the boy from Delhi always. I just wanted to be, me there. So the target was that. So then we went ahead with whatever we could get, whatever we could work with. There was, I remember in the earlier versions of the scripts, we had, few characters in the house, sharing the apartment or living, like on a different floors. But then I think with a team of actors, non-actors, first-time actors, and also focusing on Jude. So I didn't think that I could take all of that in, like also in a short film. And again, the female character, I couldn't really think of somebody to, if I write a character, if somebody would be able to play it or not, because during the research only, it was difficult for me to get access to them.
Okay, so operational difficulties were also there. Coming to you, Jude, Tarun was talking a lot about how the script was, was revolving around the central character, which was played by you. So how difficult was it for you, coming from a non-acting background? First of all, why you decided to jump into it? Why you thought you can act, and you can act in this particular film, and how difficult was it initially, to put your thought actually in front of the camera?
Well, I think I would say I never really knew the, the intensity and, how much energy is being put into movie production until I stepped in. That's when I realized. But then, I would say, coming from like, that perspective, like I had the same friend who, told me about this project and about, getting involved on this project. This person encouraged me and told me, you can do it. Like, like I believe you can do it. So this person is more of like a person who is coming from a cinematography field. But then, I thought about it. I said, okay, so I came on board. So when I met with Tarun, I remember we were discussing something about, like what is my motivation, for coming on this project. And well, what came to my mind was, like I really feel really, I feel really sad. I feel I feel concerned, about this issue. But then, I thought about, so which way can I, like play a role? Which way can I think about, sending out a message, passing across a message that, like this kind of, stereotypical mindset is no, it's not good. So I said something to him. I said, like if I actually get the chance, to stay on the streets or to stay on the road and, call people to come and get free food, I would do that. That was one of the things I remember saying. So getting into that, like intensity, I would say, like the entire, the entire script was I also, I would say I was also not very much of a person like who like appears in front of the camera. Like, I am more of like a low-key person. So, those times were there, when we were on set, and then, I'm always like told, you have to look into the camera. I'm always reminded, like, you have to look into the camera. So it's these little things. But then, I appreciate also like the patience, with like the entire team that, I worked with. um it was a journey. I would say it was really a journey, because we our shooting was particularly in the winter season. I remember very well, and it was really cold. It was a very, very cold period, and everybody was out there with blankets, like one or two takes, we just get something warm, tea, coffee, to just refresh ourselves, and get back, into this thing, and I also had motivation from the other actors, like the other male actors. They kept, like telling me, like like, they were pushing me, and that push, made me to be able to like come like fully, I believe, into that the requirement. So that's
Great. Coming to you, Katyayani, Jude had shared several interesting points, while you were shooting, especially when you're shooting in the typical, you know, Delhi winter, which is known for its harshness. What was your experience of the entire shoot? For how long you were shooting in Delhi, and what was the whole experience of working with the team here in Delhi?
Honestly, I think it was just a lot of fun apart from anything else. So we were shooting for the most part inside this little red car, and it had these flashy lights inside it, and there was, I think, 4 or 5 of us sitting inside that car, and all of us, it was like Jude said, it was freezing cold. It was January, and we were shooting nights. The entire film is shot at night, so it was all like, it was, I think, four nights in a row we shot straight. So we were sleeping we'd go home, sleep, and then we'd come back on set, and we'd be inside that car, and we have blankets and chai and this and that, and I think all of us just got really close as a cast. So like, yeah, I mean, I remember what Jude's talking about all the other male cast was like, yeah, you can do it, because all of them are theater actors. So they're used to just sort of playing around with the characters, so they're like, slapping Jude on the back saying, go do this, that. So I think it was a lot of fun in that sense. Yeah, I remember I got an awful cold and a cough for almost a month. I was talking like this. for quite a while. And the first night when I came back home at 7 or 8 in the morning, my mother, she was waiting at the door for me. Kahan thi tum? That's where were you? And I was like, I was shooting, and I hadn't been answering my phone because it was on silent, because you have to keep it on silent while you're shooting. So I was like tired, and I said I was going to call the police. And I was like, oh my god, no, don't do that. So there was a lot of little anecdotes like that. But I think overall, I just had a lot of fun, and it was quite, I think, challenging for me, because I think at that time, now I'm older and I have a little more life experience, but just a little more, not that much. But at that time, I was 1 week out of college, so I had no idea what I was really doing, and this character was considerably older than how old I actually am. So I think there was a lot of support from Tarun, and we had a lot of conversations about, trying to figure out where this girl is coming from and how she has sort of, started off her life with a lot of promise and then has made some destructive choices and ended up in this situation where she's in such a bad situation that she has to make it worse to get out. So it was actually a lot of just, I think, support from, Tarun and the rest of the cast that helped me kind of understand this character. And I remember while I was on set, while we were having fun and stuff, but I got very involved with the, and which is why Tarun keeps telling me that when people meet me now after they've seen the movie, they say that, she's talking so much, and I generally talk a lot. But during those 4 or 5 days we were shooting, I'd become very quiet and I wasn't talking much. I also had a sore throat, so that helped. But it was an interesting experience overall. So yeah.
Great. Tarun, I must compliment you for one thing, that, in a 20-minute film, you have actually created in a very original way the Delhi vibes, how Delhi feels in winter. In the problematic sense also, what is wrong with Delhi? You have shown that, what is wrong in Delhi. But not just in terms of the character, but the entire feel and look that you have created in around the car, the way the four characters are interacting, the way they are talking. I think that comes very naturally. And I think being a Delhi boy, somewhere it has helped a lot in creating that overall impression. Because, Jude is not from Delhi, Katyayani is not from Delhi. I don't know how much time she spent in Delhi, or she's from Delhi. Yeah. But I think that has come out very well. So that gels in a very natural way the kind of context we are talking about, the whole issue of racism, in Delhi, in the typical Delhi context, and the serpentine gullies you have shown, maybe somewhere in Saket or maybe Khidki Extension or somewhere like that, the kind of place where most of our African friends, they live. So that has come out, I think, very well in the film. Coming to you, Iziogu, coming to you, a very important point which Tarun raised when I was talking about, why didn't he think about having a female central character in the film, maybe a female African protagonist? And he talked about several, challenges in taking that line in the script. Do you think, we can have more such films? We need to have more such films in future where we talk about women-specific issues, especially of women who are there in India, African women, because their issues, I think, are much more complex. The kind of treatment they are getting from Delhiites, or maybe from people who stay in their neighborhoods. What's your take on this issue?
Well, basically, thank you very much. I compliment also the efforts that Tarun has put in this project. And just like Tarun, there are so many people, I cannot just go on calling names, who are also committed to this cause of sensitizing the public. So I think speaking for the African women, not sounding so feminine, I think focusing on the African women alone wouldn't really pass that message, because just like the average African woman, there are so many Indian women who experience a lot of issues. What we just need to do is probably create a network or a bridge that brings the conversation from both sides, where the women and the women meet each other and discuss on an equal platform. So one thing also that has been, I would speak for Tarun on this, or try to clarify also, since we were actually the ones who were playing most of the role in connecting Tarun with the people who would act.
Yeah.
I think the women, if you'd remember also in 2016, 17, African women in Bangalore, Hyderabad were molested.
Yeah.
Most of them were beaten up by mobs. Even with the incident which happened in Delhi, I think in 2014 or thereabout, where a member of parliament even came out and, or someone who was in government, I think, if I'm not mistaken, came out and raided women. So it doesn't make any sense when we now try to convince our people at that time to come and be expressive, because we were coming from a more broader picture of creating the awareness and correcting the narrative. So I think with what has happened right now, this initial project, more and more people would come on board on the project. A lot of women would, or ladies would see this as an opportunity also to pass their own message. One thing which I wanted to also emphasize on was the fact that India-Africa relations is something which is very, very, very important. I think the government understands this, and that's why you see the government on all fronts has been trying so much to not just position themselves with Africa, but also to establish a stronger and more bonding relationship, which has been there in a long, long while. So if we are having a relationship right now that is forged on mutuality and respect by the virtue of the relationship and experiences which we share, and I'm talking both pre-colonial, post-colonial, and during the colonial era, you see that India-Africa really, really, really needs to come together. And Africa actually is a home to everyone and wants to be more of a home to Indians. And that's why we want to spread that love and spirit of Ubuntu to you all also, speaking to my Indian co-panelists here today. We want to really share that love with you. We want to share all we have with you. We want to grow together. So we want more of this to come, but not targeting Africans per se, but spreading it on a much more broader perspective, so that everyone comes on board and we can probably eradicate, if not for the whole world, but for India, Africa, eradicate all of these nuisances from our systems.
Definitely. I think you rightly said that, these steps can definitely change the narrative when it comes to India and African relations, and that is what we need today. My last question, Tarun, to you today is, for independent filmmakers, especially when they're making films on socially driven issues, finance and funding is a major challenge.
Yeah.
So how did you plan, and what was the strategy, and how have you managed to crowdfund for your short film, Kaala?
Yeah. So I've been doing short films since 2011, which was possible because I could also get work in feature films, or to work as a researcher or a writer or a chief assistant director in a lot of documentaries and ad films, and now brand films. So I've always kept in mind that I'm always working on one story at one time. Like, I mean, many stories, but I'm always trying to make one story at one time after I finished something. So I know that and I'm trying all my hands. So I'm trying to reach out to people to produce it, to put in money, to to reach out to media houses also, to news channels, and everybody I know I've been working with. I keep telling them, if somebody's interested in producing, I keep meeting them also. Somehow my pitches, are many people have said they're very intense and they're very the films are very dark in a way. So why, while following that up and trying to make it, I always start doing something with whatever I have. Luckily, I find people who are interested, who have similar interest in the topic, who when they hear it. And I don't think about, okay, when I'll have the full money, I'll then I'll start making it, because I know that I will never have the full money. Like, up till now, I knew that I will never have the full money to start it. So which will delay the process, and in fact actually delay. So we've been working on this since 2017. We had some money. We could do the research. We could do the casting. We could do the we could get into production. And once we have shot it, we took our time, because we knew that we've run out of money. Now we have to get back to work, uh, which we have not been doing for 6 months. And then so that's the process. Like, so I work on the film, then I work for some other projects, get the money, and then work on the film. So then later, when we had finished, like we had known that, okay, this is the film is going to look like, on the edit, then we thought that, okay, we could probably try crowdfunding, because lot of my friends were doing crowdfunding. So there is this fantastic platform, called Wishberry, where a lot of the filmmakers, feature filmmakers I personally know, and also documentary filmmakers and short filmmakers, have been able to raise money, for their projects. So I thought, why not? But I can just, why not we try the similar idea, and then probably we can reach out to more people in more countries, because this is a global topic. Initially, it was quite tough, but with the help and guidance of the people from Wishberry, and also the founders, Anshulika and Priyanka, we kind of understood how to approach people, how to introduce ourselves, and tell them that this is what we are doing. And a lot of people were very generous, like people from UK. A lot of people. There is this organization called South Hall Black Sisters. They contributed a good amount, and a lot of individuals from Bombay, from London, from New York, from, and a lot of my friends, and they found, like, this story needs to be told, and then they contributed. And once we had the money, we know we can finish the film, and then we finished it. We did the 5.1. I mean, I still have to get the final output from the studios, because the studio got shut in March. So, but we actually, the work is done. And then the work, now the good thing is that it looks like a film. It can be played on a screen. It can sound like a 5.1 mixed film, and everything is coming out fantastic, because the audience doesn't need to know the technical glitches, or all the things that has gone behind in the making this film. They need to just watch the film and understand the story, and then react to it. So I think my team, and we've been working together to make that possible, make that happen. And it's sometimes it's slightly difficult. Sometimes we lose hope, but then eventually we finish the film.
But I can see, you have, you know, devoted a lot of time, and with huge patience. I think you guys have made this film. When it comes to funding, also when it comes to casting, also. So you've taken care of all the relevant aspects very carefully. There is one question from one of our viewers, Hina Jan. She's saying that great job on the movie, everyone. I have a question for the cast. Is there anything actionable in the immediate future you would like friends and acquaintances to be aware of about racism? So any one of you, or all of you maybe, you can share.
Jude and Katyani.
I think Jude should answer this one.
Okay, so she's asking if there's anything.
She's asking that is there anything actionable in the immediate future you would like friends and acquaintances to be aware of about racism? What is the next step basically after this film?
Well,
when you talked about racism, how to take
well,
it?
I think I'm taking it from the perspective of India, where the country where we are right now. So I believe, from the perspective of the government playing a role in helping, and assisting some of the international students, I believe. I was having a discussion with a friend some days back, and I spoke about, the importance of, incorporating the language of a particular location of the university where the students are studying. When you go to like probably some other countries like Russia or China, like the students have to go through, this, the language of that place. So I believe, like communication comes as, a very important, role. Communication is going to play an important role in the area of racism in India, like that's towards, the African students. And then also, like cultural exchange programs. Let's say, for example, Lawrence spoke about something like Ubuntu. There's a university, Ashoka University, they organize something like that. It's a very fantastic, initiative. And, they bring together, both people from every part of the world, to showcase their culture. So this, these things are going to play a very, very, important role. But then, like people always say, racism is not, you're not born, like with that mindset, you are taught that mindset. So I believe, as we grow, as we advance, as society changes, it's going to be very relevant, if we carry on, the mindset of humanity over, differences. It's going to be very important.
Yeah.
Great.
That's a great
Yeah, Kateni. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one other thing that I'd like to add. If we're talking about how immediately we can deal with racism, I think it has to there's a lot of can you hear me? Sorry,
Yes.
did I hang?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like there is a lot of emphasis in our society, especially as Tarun was talking about North Indian mindset, there's a lot of emphasis, an undue emphasis on fairness. I think we need to begin by completely rejecting fairness screams and, trying to look more white. There's this idea of that whiteness is beautiful and the opposite of that is not. And I don't understand what that means. So I think for those of us who are aware, or even I mean, it's not that we are aware, there's always more work that we can do on ourselves to, check ourselves when we, have learned racist ideas and, to stop ourselves from using them every time, think before you speak. And when you are blatantly seeing someone being outwardly racist, to, talk to them in a polite way and in a nice way and explain to them that, this is not acceptable. Yeah. So I think it has to be conversations with loved ones, people at, at home who are willing to hear us. So that is one way we can.
Yeah. The last point from Tarun. Tarun, kindly unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yeah. So if like anyone from the government are watching or would watch it in the future, I don't want to miss the opportunity of, saying that. So I've over the since 2017, I've been following on this story since 2016, when the incident started, getting reported in the media and the mainstream media, I would say. There is this also Indo-African relationship or Indo-African friendship park in Chanakyapuri, I think somewhere, so it's there. So I felt that, the incident that you go talked about in 2014, when the member of the ruling party from Delhi went to Khidki extension and then started, created all this. And I felt that, the way he dealt with it was very wrong. And then the way they couldn't understand how to, how great the situation can be if they deal with it like that. So I think the government here can help a lot by first accepting, all these incidents that has happened as racist incidents, rather than calling it a law and order problem, because law and order is a very wide category which has, different laws, and people also take it normally like, okay, it's another law and order problem, another, register another case. But if they actually, put it into the category of it's a racist attack, or if this is racism, this is like if that is that category, then we can work on the problem we can work on the solution of this problem, but first we have to accept that it's there. So that has not come from the government yet. I remember Sushma Swarajji also, she was a very good person. When I mean, she used to be there for everyone. Also did not, I think I never heard her saying, or from her people saying that okay, this is a problem of racism and not the law and order problem. Because when we don't accept the problem, we can't work on the solution. And I feel that the solution is right there. You have to, we just all, the people in power have to just behave, or deal with it in the way that it has to be dealt with, like we deal with rape, like we deal with any other situation which we feel that it's not right. Only then people will, because people follow or look up to the leaders and people in power to see to that if they're doing anything wrong. But if nobody is telling them that you're doing this wrong, they don't want to correct it. They think that it's accepted, we are doing it right. And in a lot of these cases, all these like our African friends, they stay, when they stay in Delhi or anywhere, mostly in Delhi and Noida and Gurgaon. So they look at them as people, who as tenants who are, and they're making money from them also, but but are not ready to give them their respect or their space. They'll always have they always want to know what is going on in their lives, because they still say, okay, these are our houses in which they are living in. So I think this has to come from the government, because, and I don't think it's bad if we accept it. I'm sure there are few repercussions of this in the global platforms for the government.
Yes.
Maybe they are thinking of that, but if we don't accept it right now, we can't correct it forever.
Yeah. So I think that's a very valid point, that government has a major role to play in it. And with that, I think the filmmakers or the people who are working in the creative field also play a very important role, not just by talking about that issue, but also by bringing that issue in the public domain for larger conversation, for debates, for discussions. Because if you don't bring that issue in the public domain, people will never be able to understand about those issues. They'll be never able to talk about those issues. Iziogo pointed out earlier, in the mainstream media, you won't find these issues getting discussed so much. It's only people like you who are taking pains in bringing out those issues on alternative platforms, like through short films or through any other means. And I think it's going to play a crucial role in changing the narrative around racism, or the way we treat our African friends who are there in Delhi or in different parts of the country. So that brings me to the end of this program. Thank you. So yes, Tarun, your last point. Yes.
Yeah, my last request actually, because this is a platform I got, I want to make the most of it. We were trying to do the educational screenings in the university just before the lockdown. We were trying to organize it in February, all over India and also outside India. For the students, like, because for example, universities like Sharda or Noida University or Lovely University, or there's one in Jaipur and Bangalore. They have students not only from Africa and India, they have also students from other countries, and especially like all the major cities and all the small towns. People from there are there in these universities, so the word spreads fast, because I think this is the topic we need to this is for awareness, like this is for more of educational purposes, so that people can talk about it. For example, in the film also, we have left it at one point, so that people can think from their own, what do they want, what do they see, do they see a person, or do they see a person with black color, so that was the thing that we left it with. So I am now trying to figure out how to project it, because in March the lockdowns were announced and we don't know when it's going to open it. But then we were trying to organize these university screenings, so I don't know if that can happen or how that can materialize. So if anyone,
I think that's a fantastic idea. That's a fantastic idea, to take this film to a broader audience, and particularly to the younger generation.
Yes,
they should understand, Kaala is not just the color of skin. When we say Kaala to someone, we are actually judging that person. We are imposing a certain identity on that person. And that identity on the basis of a color needs to go. It has no place in a society like ours. So thank you so much, Tarun. Thank you so much, Jude, Katyayani, Iziogu, for joining in this show. And we look forward to see you in another film. Do share us, whenever you are making another film or making any other creative, assignments. And India Africa Today would love to collaborate with you. Iziogu, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us today in this wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Viewers, we'll be back again next Sunday on another issue about India and Africa in Africa Talks. Goodbye and good night.